My dear sisters and brothers, the character of Mary Magdalene at the tomb has a special place in all the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All four of them mention the presence of Mary at the tomb. Now, Matthew mentions Mary going to the tomb early in the morning with one other woman. Mark mentions Mary going to the tomb and at the tomb with two other women. And Luke mentions Mary going to the tomb with a few other women. And John mentions Mary going to the tomb early in the morning all by herself. Now, what happens when she goes is what we just heard. Now, this gospel text is from Matthew chapter 20, 1 to 2. That's the initial part. And then it jumps into verse 11 to 18. That's where it starts. Mary stayed outside the tomb weeping. So that was the encounter Mary had at the tomb when she has gone to the tomb all by herself. Now, think for a minute, imagine in your head what is happening at the tomb. Mary is just outside, and then the gospel says she is weeping, and she bends down and she sees two people whom she does not recognize. Then she starts this conversation, rather these two people, the angels, start the conversation, and then Mary responds to them without mentioning any designation. Like, no sir, no gardener, no this, no that. They have taken my Lord away, I don't know where they kept him. Just without any salutation, she starts talking. And then slowly the conversation builds up, and this anger or the tears or self-pity or weeping turns into recognize him as the gardener. The next moment, no salutation, no designation, then she starts seeing him as the gardener. And then, after some time, the gospel turns into be that she says, Sir. And then, at the end, she says, Rabboni. See this progression. See this transformation of Mary at the tomb. Addressing as nothing, and then recognizing him as the gardener, then as Sir, and then at the end as Rabboni. Now, when I was meditating on this, I said this is a very fine example for us to see side by side with the cycle of grief. First is denial. You are outside the tomb. I don't want to get in. And then depression, self-pity, crying outside. And then slowly trying to bargain with the reality. Gardener or Sir. Slowly trying to accept the situation to ourselves. And at the end, the transformation. Acceptance. Fully acceptance that you are my God, Rabboni. And then that is why in John's Gospel, another beautiful thing is that resurrection is not the ultimatum. Is not the end. The resurrection in John's Gospel is taken for granted. Yes, Jesus is to be risen. But what is greater to John is ascension. I go to my Father and to your Father, go and tell my brothers that I will be going to my Father and to your Father. So she is the apostle of not resurrection. Yes, it's taken for granted, but more so, she is the apostle of ascension. That our Lord is taken back to where he came from. And then she is also the apostle to the apostles, because she is the one who goes and announces to his brothers, Jesus' brothers or disciples, that Jesus is risen. And so, my dear sisters and brothers, see the place of the women that we are fighting for these days, how our Lord in His resurrection, in economy of salvation, plan of salvation, how the status of women was just lifted up at the day of the resurrection. She became the apostle to the apostles, apostle of resurrection. And so in our being, in our doing, at church and elsewhere, in our personal lives, in family, at work, let us ask ourselves how much of these connections we can make to our lives, especially in terms of carrying the message of Jesus, message of resurrection and His ascension in our lives. And secondly, when we struggle with our grief due to losses, ailments, difficulties, or whatever you want to call it, how much of this Mary's recognition of Jesus is applied in our lives? From denial to bargaining to acceptance, how much of this Mary would shed some light to us so that we would come to know Jesus a little bit more in and through our grief, our suffering, our ailments, and our difficulties.